Alright, welcome back. We're on episode number 3 of Divinity Original Sin. So last episode we went through the UI elements of the game, and last episode we did our character creation, so we are now ready to move around. Oh, one thing I did not note as we were doing this, if you recall, I used the Golden Grail on our equipment to show you the combination menu for recipes, and I forgot to show you that when you started the game, your armor was red and white. So by using the Golden Grail, it actually changed it all to a golden color. So you see she's gold and white, and so is he. So that's another effect of the Golden Grail. Alright, so we are going to move forward and begin looking around. So, it's wise to check various nooks and crannies in the game because there might be secrets there, and in this game, to find a secret you kind of got to get close. Even when you have the perception to find it, you got to get close to it to do that. Alright, we just got an autosave, so we'll head up this way.
If I didn't know there were orc ships raiding to the west, I'd mistake this for a placid beach.
At least the orcs make a bit of noise when they attack. It's dark-dealing sorcerers that'll strike with neither warning nor mercy.
Alright, so if I hit my tooltip, you can see that these items are on the ground. But you can see also there is a wooden crate. So the wooden crate does not show up. So all the containers in the game won't show up when you hit your tooltip, but only the things that are already laying on the ground. So we'll go ahead and start picking things up. We'll go over each of the item descriptions later on. I am not going to loot the containers yet. I'm going to wait. And the reason is, if I look at my lucky charm, it's at 2. There's going to be a way for me to get lucky charm up relatively quickly, so I don't want to open any containers until I have a lucky charm at 5. So I'm going to keep these unopened until we get to the point I can open them with lucky charm 5. Hopefully I can get that before we actually hit the city of Sicil.
Woe is me! Dry hair, my sorry lot!
Alright, so as I was telling you about the hearing, I don't know if I was able to hear Ishmael simply because my hearing stat, and let's go ahead and look at that again. So if you look at Scarlet, she has 8 perception and her hearing is 13. Anyway, so this was an NPC that is off the screen, I'm not near it, and I still can hear its dialogue line. So yeah, that to me that is annoying. I shouldn't be able to hear the dialogue lines until I'm near the NPC, but that's not how this game works, and that's why you have.
Oh, mighty ocean, how I pine for thee!
And that's why you can hear their dialogue lines. So, if there was multiple NPCs here and they all had ambient conversations, you would hear them talking over each other. And the way this game does it, it repeats the dialogue lines. At some point in time, it will repeat all the dialogue lines. And sometimes they repeat it directly after saying it. So it'll just sit there and say it over and over and over again. It's absolutely fucking annoying. Anyway, so this is Ishmael. We'll meet him a little bit later in another episode. But we'll listen to his last dialogue line. He has another dialogue line here, and then we'll move on.
Hear a shell's lament! Yield me unto the water!
Alright, so Ishmael wants to be thrown into the water. You know, dry air is his sorry lot, and he pines for the mighty ocean. And, yeah, okay. So, moving on. I'll get Scarlet to do that. She doesn't need to be doing that. Come here. So, a comment on the ability of telekinesis. So, when you use the tooltip, the further away you are from the item, the more you have to walk to it. But if I had telekinesis, If I had telekinesis, I would be able to pick up these items from a further distance away. And there's a graphic that pops up every time you use telekinesis. It's like a blue line, squiggly line that pops up as you pick it up. And I'll show you that when we get there. Alright, so kind of went the long way around here. Alright, so if we come back here, this is where we were coming in at. Apparently we missed one shell this way. Now while I'll be looting with Roderick for everything, Scarlet is the one making all the perception checks as we go by.
Is that a corpse? What's it doing here alone?
What? Did you expect it to have an entourage?
Okay, and we have a rain scroll. Alright, we'll go ahead and save here. So we're going to go ahead and wait to do that. Up here we have a couple of crates, but we also have hidden in the back here this backpack. And you can't see it from here, but if you do a little turn here, you can see it just kind of laying there. So we're going to go ahead and right click on that and pick it up and take a look at what's in this backpack. So you can see this has a different icon. So backpack, a charmed satchel capable of carrying far more bric-a-brac than most simple backpacks. Alright, so let's go ahead and open it up. So it has a painting of a landscape worth a pretty penny. So this is basically just a loot item for money. It has a love grenade. We'll try to charm all in a radius of in a 5-meter radius. Special. 50% chance to set the charm status for 2 turns. It has a willpower savings throw. Range is 15. The explosive radius is 5 meters. Charm status temporarily turns target's allegiance around. So in this game, Charm is a very powerful spell, and it can be on arrows. It can be on potions, and I even believe there is a skill that allows you to charm as well. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and leave that in there for now. If we take a look at what we picked up as we were going along, so let's take a look at this broad skull. Ingredient can be used, it can also be ground to dust. So there aren't very many things that are just going to flat out tell you they are ingredients. This one is telling you, but this is an ingredient in crafting. Shell. Special. Effects unknown. So we don't know what this shell does. From your recollection of a traveler's tales on your journey, this appears to be the main ingredient of the Rivelin famous pie from the Sicil crab, from the King Crab Tavern in Sicil. Alright. The other shell, or another shell, so fresh you can suck the flesh right out of the shell. Lizard mystics have been known to use these shells as musical instruments in their death rituals, invoking the haunting howl of far sea storms. Okay. And the last shell that we have, although this shell is small and unassuming, a haunting past digestive experience urges you to cook it thoroughly before eating. Alright, so if we look at these, the effects are unknown on all these shells. To figure out what a shell does, just right click and consume. And you can see up here, shell, water resistance plus 5%, and duration is for 6 turns. So you can see it counting down the turns now. And as we get in, when we get in combat, it'll be each combat turn, not time. So this is just doing it on time because we are not in combat. If we go back to the shell now, it will tell you what it does on the special. 5% water resistance, and that will apply to all the other shells. So if you see on the broad skull, we cannot consume it. Alright, so that means we have cheese. With cheese in either hand, anything is possible. That being said, you can't put cheese in your hand. Effect unknown, so if we consume cheese, -1 dexterity, +1 constitution, it heals for 10%, and it would last for 6 turns. Alright. Next up, Grumio's cotton candy dye. Having the color of the Mad Wizard Belgar's favorite dressing gown, this dye will bring out your inner diva in no time. Who knows who Grumio is? But yeah, we get dye out of it. So, like the golden chalice, it will dye your equipment bubblegum cotton candy instead of just gold. And the last item is the Rift Oglers, a unique item. -1 charisma, but +1 lucky charm. You're losing sight, you're losing hearing, losing movement, you're immune to blind. Fashioned by an ingenious imp from a far-off realm, these unwieldy spectacles were designed for gazing into rifts. Use them on the regular world, and you'll just be shrouded in darkness. But the exceedingly rare material they're made of, palmerite, just so happens to have a powerful side effect, luck. Okay, so we'll show you what this does in a second. So since this icon is unique in the game, or at least not the usual icon, most backpacks are going to look like this. I'm going to use this one now as my grenade container instead. Well, I guess I didn't use it to begin with. Anyway, this is going to be my grenade container. Alright, so we'll hold on to that. We'll sort our inventory. So now let's take a look at the Rift Oglers. If we come down this way and put these things on, it goes into the helmet slot, and it does this. So it shows you, I guess, how they designed the game. You know, the models they used. But more importantly, we pick up 1 lucky charm. However, it is absolutely annoying running around the game looking at the game like this. So as soon as we can, we're going to hopefully find a helmet or fashion a helmet through crafting. And what we can do then, we can drag this to the hotbar. Once we have another helmet that we can actually equip in this slot, I can drag that to the hotbar as well, and then swap back and forth between those two items, so that every time I loot a container, I can always loot it with 1 extra lucky charm. Alright, so that being said, we are going to go over here now with our lucky charm. So bodies count as containers in this game, so there's a chance of triggering a lucky charm on anything that is a container. We'll go ahead and hit the save button and click loot. Alright, moving obstacles. Move a container's inventory window by dragging it with left mouse button. So, just dragging it. Traveler's Journal. By the looks of it, this book took a tumble down some cliffs. Alright, so we will take that. Take a look at what we have here. Read it. Alright, so you heard that sound. That sound means, usually means that you got XP. I think the sound is associated with gaining XP. We also gained a journal entry. I don't think the journal entry is what causes the sound. I think the sound is caused by getting XP. Alright, so Junar 21. Rejoice, for the statues have granted my wish. Their whimsical nature, however, must not be taken lightly. So before I soar through the sky like an eagle, I shall attempt a mere hop from the cliffs down at the beach. This should be a small feat for the man that can fly. If this experiment is successful, the sun shall be my next target. Click on party members that have exclamation marks above their heads to initiate a party dialogue. Okay, so you can't see it here, but if we go back to Scarlet, so a note on this, save here. There is a time limit on these conversations, and if you don't click on them when the exclamation point comes up, you may miss the entire conversation. You don't want to miss these conversations. These conversations result in the ability to get traits. Also note that sometimes when these conversations pop up, if you use a skill directly after it, the conversation will go away completely. So, you know, don't do anything after the exclamation points come up other than talk to each other, or you're just going to lose the conversation. So you can lose the conversation based on a time limit. Sometimes they just go away. So I don't know if it'll do it here right now. Just me standing here for X period of time. But they definitely will go away soon after you use a skill. So if I were to use regeneration to heal myself after combat, but the exclamation points were up, I'm going to probably miss that conversation. So you see, they went away. You don't get this back. You don't get the attempt to do this again. So make sure that when you see those conversation points, you immediately, or you know, relatively quickly, look at it. So let's take a look at our journal. The talking statues. We learned from the diary of a dead man that he jumped off a cliff believing that some whimsical statues had granted him the ability to fly. Alright, so we lost the conversation, but I quick saved it there, so I'm going to go ahead and reload. And the conversation is available to us. You want to quick save before every one of these conversations, okay? Depending on who you click on, depends on who speaks first. So if I click on Roderick and click on Scarlet, she's going to speak first. If I click on Scarlet and click on Roderick, he's going to speak first.
Can you believe this? The man jumped off a cliff at the behest of some statues, of all things.
Alright, so this is our first dilemma on traits. So what I'm going to do on everything that we do, I'm going to pick opposites just so you can see what traits you get. So, and then I'll reload it and get the trait that I want specific to that character. So, Scarlet can reply in these two ways.
Pure madness! How could someone be so utterly naive?
Alright, so we can either agree with her or disagree.
Rivellon is no stranger to the supernatural. He might well have flown into the sunset and looked down at us cynics, laughing.
Alright. Alright, there we go. So you see romantic pop up for Roderick and pragmatic pop up for Scarlet. Trait dialogue. Some dialogues require you to voice your opinion. This opinion gives you a trait, which can result in a stat or ability bonus. Over time, your traits can change. Alright, so let's take a look. So Scarlet now has a trait, and it says pragmatic. So you can see pragmatic is on one end, romantic is on one end. The blue bar is associated with the left side of the screen. You can see the diamond, it's black, so the diamond tells you that you currently have that trait. So if we look at pragmatic, if you have the pragmatic trait, crafting is increased by 1, and it tells you a trait score. You have this trait because its score is greater than romantic. Okay, so right now it says our crafting is increased by 1. If we look at our abilities and go into craftsmanship, we can see now that we have a crafting of 1, and we're getting that from pragmatic. Alright, so if we look at the traits again, notice how the graphic goes from right to left when you go into that menu. So it tells you which direction it goes. Alright, so if I get another pragmatic conversation and I choose a pragmatic response, my trait score will go to 2. So as long as I don't answer in a romantic way, my trait score will go up in pragmatic by 1 for every conversation hereafter. So the next pragmatic pops up, it goes to trait score 2. That does not mean that you get +2 to crafting. That just solidifies your choice so that you don't lose the point that you've already gained. So, if I choose pragmatic in one reply and then a romantic in another, the trait score is going to even out, and you're not going to have any bonus at all because you're at neutral. So this is just taking you further away from neutral. And sometimes you need to answer things in different ways to avoid getting other traits that you don't want. So I might have to reply in a romantic way somewhere along the way if I wanted to keep crafting. I might have to reply in a romantic other way in order to avoid another trait that I don't want that comes from that particular conversation. Yeah, so I'll show you that when we get to it. So if we look at Roderick, so now we have a purple or lavender bar, I guess, purple, going from right to left when you get into it. So that tells you that it's going in that direction. You can see that he has the diamond on romantic, and romantic is, if you have the romantic trait, lucky charm is increased by 1. So it's a trait score of 1. You have this trait because its score is greater than pragmatic. So again, we want lucky charm on Roderick for sure. So that automatically, with the helm that we have on, gets us at 4. So we are 1 lucky charm away from being able to see the entire loot table of the containers, which is what I want to get to before opening containers. Hopefully we can get to that point, which means I'm probably going to pass up a lot of containers, and I may have to wait until we get to the city in order to find a piece of gear that has lucky charm on it that we can purchase. Hopefully we can find something before that, but we might not be able to. So based on this now, I don't plan on having either of these two characters be a crafter. My crafting is going to be done by Jahan because he starts the game with the talent scientist, which makes him already have 1 in crafting. So he's going to be my crafter. Therefore, I don't want pragmatic on my characters. Lucky Charm is better for both characters. Lucky Charm lets me do the containers, but also it also gives 3 to your offensive rating for each Lucky Charm. So even though it's a minor improvement, it's still an improvement for Scarlet to have Lucky Charm over crafting. So I will reload the conversation. And now I know what I want. I'm going to make these both romantic. So now if I click on Roderick and click on her first.
Can you believe this? The man jumped off a cliff at the behest of some statues of all things.
Well, great deeds require the occasional leap of faith. I myself might have done the same.
True enough. History is made by those willing to risk it all.
Alright, so now you see that we both have romantic. Alright, for the time being we will take off the oglers. Alright, and to verify. Alright, so now if you look at Scarlet's offensive rating, +3 from Lucky Charm, and Roderick is at +9. And that is that. We will now progress. Again, I'm not going to open up any of these containers until I get Lucky Charm 5. So moving forward. Alright, see how the black part of the screen went away? So now we can actually see ahead of time and see that we are about to go into some kind of situation. So we have an unidentified combatant that cannot see us, and we can't see it. Level 4, we have a mysterious leader, level unknown. So these are level 4, this is level unknown. Notice the the hit point bar on these are the same as ours, really. If you look at our hit point bar. But if you look at the Mysterious Leader, it's a far more intricate bar. So it shows you that they're a tougher enemy. We right click on these guys right now. You can pickpocket, attack, or examine. So right now we can see the level, attitude, and hit points, and the talents that that the mob has. So the mob has Opportunist, which gives the mob the ability to perform attacks of opportunity. So if you look at our abilities and look at craftsmanship, the Lore Master is something that will give you more information about the creatures when you examine them, like we did just now. So when you get a Lore Master at a higher skill, you should be able to see more stats about this particular combatant. So she has close to 4,000. And you can see she's getting most of that from her Constitution, which can be something useful because there are spells that you can use that reduce Constitution. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and save that and head on up.
Source hunters! How did they find us?
Take the stone to the temple. These whelps will be easy to crush.
As you say, Madam Conduit.
Arise, fair dead! Seize upon our enemies!
Combat. Combat in Divinity, Original Sin, is played in rounds. Everything you do in combat costs action points, which you receive each round. Your turn ends when you have no AP left. The order of the portraits from left to right determines in what order the combatants will take their turns. Okay. So before we get into combat movement, press left mouse button on an enemy to attack, press left mouse button on the ground to move. Remember to keep an eye on your action points on top of the hotbar. Okay, before getting into this, important things to note. So they were black-robed strangers that came out of the door there. They called her Madam Conduit, and they're escaping with some type of stone and heading toward a temple. And the Conduit is able to use necromantic magic. Alright, so let's take a look at what's going on here. So up top we have the initiation queue. Well, not the initiation queue, the initiative queue. Anyway, so it shows you what order people are going to act in combat. Over here on the right, you're going to see a delay your turn. If you use that, that takes you from the front of the queue to the very back of the queue so that you can act last. In some combats, that is going to be something you want to do for sure to set up certain combinations of things. Also to the right, you'll see a flee combat button. I'm never going to flee combat, as far as I know. I'll never flee combat. This is more for the honor mode. So at the bottom, you can see now that our action points have been populated. So Scarlet has currently 8 action points of the 12. So concerning enemies now, if we look at what we have here, we have a Cursed Servant. Right click and examine. So we can see how many hit points they have. Opportunist. Another Cursed Servant. Another Cursed Servant. Another Cursed Servant. And then we have the Cursed Lieutenant, which we can't target because this guy is in the way, which is something to note. See how I can't target the lieutenant? The servants are in the way, so that's something about tactics that you're going to have to deal with. Right click on the lieutenant. See, he has opportunist and 42 hit points. So in general, Let's see if I can do it with him. Can I click on it with him? Oh, I can't do it with him. I want to show you the hit point UI. But in general, the more powerful the mob on the screen of the sets that you have available to you, the more powerful it is, the more likely it has special attacks. Or it has scrolls that it will use, or potions, or grenades. So you really want to try to take those out first, because they can really screw you up. Yeah, there's a good likelihood that I'm going to die here, but we'll show you what happens. I kind of want to die just to show you what it looks like. I'm not gonna try to, but there's a possibility that I will die. All right, so if you look at the range power stance, we have a negative 20% to hit, but we have a plus 20 damage. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle it. If you see, it takes 0 AP cost to toggle this.
Rapid fire!
Alright. So I have the ability to use Ricochet at 4. So if we take Ricochet and cast it at one of these. Okay, I actually can target it from here for whatever reason. Might be, okay, here I'm just targeting the ground in front of it. So be careful on that. I'm not actually targeting him at this point. I'm just targeting the ground. I think. No, it's targeting him. Okay, so that's fine. I can hit him if I really wanted to. Okay, so Ricochet is going to be based on proximity. So if I use Ricochet down here, it's not going to hit this guy, and run up here. Okay, it is a proximity-based skill. So let's hit that.
This arrow seeks more than one target.
Okay, and she tells you that it seeks more than one target. Alright, at this point, I still have enough to use a minor healing potion, but I don't have enough to do anything else other than attack. So I can do a single basic attack right now. So we will do that here.
Your grave opens to welcome you!
Alright, 100 XP. She has a comment about the kill. And now we can see the Cursed Lieutenant's hit point bar. Alright, so now it is Roderick's turn. So Roderick, I'm going to use Battering Ram. So Battering Ram, it will move me to this character and attempt to knock it down. If I target here, it will move me through the character and attempt to knock it down. So wherever I put my cursor is where the Battering Ram is going to try to get us. Sometimes it can do it, and sometimes it can't. It's going to be based on the environment and what's around you. But that being said, it's going to attempt to knock down whoever I target. But if you notice here, I can target 2. So in this direction, it will attempt to hit everything in that direction. So if there were 7 mobs all up here, it would actually attempt to hit all of them and try to knock them all down. So when it comes to backstabbing though, see how I can get behind the mob? I can set up for the backstab, and you have to be behind the mob in order to do that. So this is why Battering Ram is so useful on a rogue, because it sets up the ability to backstab later when you have the backstabbing talent. So we're going to go ahead and click this, and we got lucky. In your turn, by pressing space, the AP you have left will be saved for your next turn. Alright, so we have 1 AP left. Notice that we were successful. We knocked him down, which is really good, especially knocking down the lieutenant, because he could have made things really bad for us. But notice it's only for 1 turn. Alright, so if we hit spacebar, we end our turn. And now the enemy gets to attack. And, yeah. That cursed servant made Scarlet all wet. This is your hotbar. Click on a skill icon to start casting. Cancel by pressing right mouse button. Drag skills and items. Where'd it go? Drag skills and items to the hotbar for quick access. Okay. So we have the ability to cast regeneration. She took a hit, and you know, it was a significant amount of damage. So if we cast regeneration, though, it costs 5, which means we only have 1 action point left over, and we won't be able to fire our bow if we do that. So I'm going to roll the dice here and hope that these 2 don't kill me, and go ahead and try to take out the Cursed Lieutenant. We really want him dead. Alright, we got one attack. We got some damage. Almost dead. Not quite. Now, if I were being very, very cautious, I would pop this minor healing potion right now and ensure she does not die. But I want to try to keep the healing potions to use for better crafting later. So we're going to roll the dice. She's going to save her action points here. She has 2 left. Alright, knockdown is done. So now I have a choice. Either I make 1 attack or I cast my Crushing Fist. I need this guy dead. I don't think I can do enough damage to him with my single attack. But we're going to try.
The time of your death is at hand!
Alright, we got lucky there. So we were able to kill him without seeing what he can do to us. And that's good because he could have been... Yeah, he could have killed us. Alright, so now we have 1 action point left. I'm going to go ahead and move forward to try to get closer. Alright.
My heart beats too slowly to sustain me.
Alright, so Scarlet made it through it. Potion. One of your party members is low on health. Use a healing potion or a healing spell. Okay, so now she can use this. She still won't have the ability to make another attack. But we need to heal her or she will die. She may even die now. I might have to heal her again, actually. So if you look at what happened here, she gets 13 vitality per turn for the next 2 turns. And the wet spell that he cast, he actually shot an arrow that made us wet, and that made us vulnerable to electric and ice attacks, and decreased our fire resistance, increased our fire resistance, and decreased our air resistance. Anyway, so she is pretty much done with her attack. I can pop the potion now to get her up, but we know we have a cure on Roderick, so we're going to go ahead and save her action points. I'm going to take this cure. Remember, we can only use this one once per turn and see how close it is. So now I'm stuck because I can't get close enough to use it. So that kind of hurts us. So now I have a decision to make. I have to get one of these things dead. I can't do that. If both of these guys tee off on Scarlet, she's dead, right? Okay? I can't cure her because I can't get close enough to her to do it. I can't get there. And even if I could, if I had enough action points to get to her and cast the spell, I see this icon, the sword icon? That means I will take an opportunity of attack. So this skeleton will get a free attack on me if I move out of its radius. And you don't want that. So I'm going to try to use casting Crushing Fist and try to bring this guy down so that Scarlet only takes 1 attack. Hopefully we are successful. We are not. So the likelihood of Scarlet dying now is, increased. So we're going to go ahead and move him up some. Alright, so he chose to go at him. Alright. So they were generous to us. Uh-oh. This could be the end. Nope. Alright. If too many enemies are concentrated in a small space, you can press B to get a top-down view. Change combat highlights in-game options to increase combat clarity. Alright. So if we use that, that's what it's talking about. And I guess the highlights is the blue. So it's telling you blue is ally and red is enemy. Alright. So we're kind of hurting here. But I think if we get this guy dead, I can still get cured. So let's try that.
My target dances in shadows.
Okay, now I definitely have to make a choice. We needed this guy to die. These guys each shoot 2 arrows. This guy's going to attack Scarlet. Roderick is going to need to heal too. So I have to use a potion now.
Sweet relief.
So we're going to do that. I can't run away from this thing because of the attack of opportunity, and I can't attack because it costs too much to do that, so I have to do that. Roderick is damn near dead too. It would cost every action point he has in order to do this. If he came up here, he can't attack. It takes 9 to just come up and attack him, so I don't have a choice but to use the cure on him now. So we're looking in bad shape now because we didn't get that attack on this servant and get a kill.
Bless the seven! I am
All right.
restored!
Delay your turn by pressing the delay turn button during your combat turn. As a result, your turn will be pushed to the end of combat, to the end of that round. Alright, so we can see now that our ricochet is back up. So, it's within 8 meters. I don't think ricochet will hit all 3 targets. I don't think they're close enough, but let's check it out. We need him dead, regardless.
How many eyes does a bull
Okay.
have?
Alright, so it was close enough. That was an 8-meter range. Okay, so that evened the playing field a bit. And we can do another basic attack now. So let's go ahead and do that. Of course we missed. And we expect to miss more often because we are reducing our chance to hit for damage. Alright, so her turn's done. Alright, he can't do anything but get closer and use a potion. So we're going to go ahead and try to get in front of her and maybe block some attacks. Alright. He's getting hurt. Alright. Both getting hurt. Okay. So at this point, it's not likely that I'm going to get both of these dead this round. It's not likely that I'll even get one dead this round, even if I do hit each attack. So we're still hurting here. Roderick still has his potion, but Scarlet doesn't have anything, and we're not going to have our healing spell up in order to heal. So if we go into our inventory now, so right now we have 7 action points. If we go into our inventory, we can't switch it. Damn it. We have our fire arrow. So I'm going to use a fire arrow now and attempt to kill one. I don't know if I want to put it this close because it might cause a fire to be put on the ground next to Roderick, and we cannot have him burning. So let's see what happens. Okay. So no, it didn't put the fire on the ground, so that's good. But you know, now we're in trouble because we don't have a heal for Scarlet. Hit intern here. Roderick, he also is hurting, so we're gonna have to use his potion.
Into the fray once more.
And then we're gonna go ahead and step up to get closer to attack. And can I step up to him? They don't have an opportunist. I know they are opportunists. I'm not sure why it's not showing me the opportunity to attack. That's weird. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and in our turn, he's going to move away. She's going to fire on Scarlet. Alright, so not likely that we're going to kill him with a regular attack, and it might not be, Roderick might not have enough action points to get to him and kill him, and she's almost dead, so we're going to have to try to use our last magic arrow.
Fang of fire!
Alright, Fang of Fire. Fortunate there. We can take another attack.
Chaos grips my hands today.
Okay, Chaos has gripped her hands. And then we have Battering Ram now, so it would take 8 action points to get there and to attack. We're going to go ahead and use Battering Ram and attempt to knock him down. Success. Alright, so we're turning the tide of this battle. We're going to go ahead and end our turn. Scarlet will be able to tee off here. There we go. Her turn is done. Roderick can kill. And success. Okay.
Their leader said something about escaping with a stone.
Stolen from this dungeon, I imagine. Can we get inside?
Okay, so save it now, because we have the conversation points. We don't want to lose that. Take a look at the log. So we have 2 updates. No, the talking statue was from the previous episode. Okay. We were waylaid by a group of tomb raiders escaping with a stone of some kind. Their leader used necromancy further indication that source is in play in Sicile. We can investigate the tomb or keep heading towards the city. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk.
Those thieves were more than petty criminals. Their leader gave life to the dead. What stone could they have been so keen on taking?
Okay, we're gonna save this.
We can't well turn away from such an odious show of source. Let's investigate the tomb and see what answers it might reveal.
Okay.
Until we're briefed on our intended investigation, every wasted moment is an outright defiance of our orders.
Okay, so Roderick got independent and Scarlet got obedient. So let's take a look at these. So for Roderick, independent. If you have the independent trait, willpower is increased by 1. Alright, so let's take a look at that. Go in our abilities, go to defense, and you can see that we now have willpower at 1, which is powerful because now we're reducing the chance of getting those particular status effects by 15%. So let's take a look at Scarlet. Notice her willpower is 0. She is obedient. So if you have the obedient trait, you will receive a willpower bonus whenever a character with leadership is in sight. So this trait only gives you 1 willpower. But it requires you to have willpower, a leader in sight, in order for the willpower to be there. So independent is much, much better than obedient, hands down. And I'm not sure why they put obedient in the game, if you want to know the truth. Now, if you were to get multiple willpower with the obedient trait, then I can see it. You know, if you get multiples, but that's not how it works. So independent is flat out better all the way around, just from the description. But it gets even worse for people that have independent. I mean, that have obedient. People that have obedient is worse, because when you look at this ability, leadership, the boost you get from the leader are diminished with characters that have obedience by a significant amount. You lose a lot of your bonuses if you're obedient, and I think it's just a flat-out bug. But a lot of the bonuses that's associated with leadership are gone when you are obedient. It's weird, but it's just the way it is. So you definitely want to avoid being obedient at all costs because of that particular bug. Not to mention that it's just flat out bad to begin with. So we're going to reload and never pick obedient unless we have to. And there's going to be a few times, I think, that we have to.
We can't well turn away from such an odious show of source. Let's investigate the tomb and see what answers it might reveal.
Indeed. For all we know, these dark-dealing thieves may be involved with Councillor Jake's murder.
Okay, so we are both independent. You want to get in the habit of verifying that, because you want to make sure the traits you want are actually there. So, independent and independent. I can send that to Roderick. Alright, so we had to use both of our fire arrows. We had to use both of our potions. Now, in mid-combat, let's say the cure was still down. We were out of potions. We had no way to heal at all. If you go into Roderick's inventory, he had a cheese. So that heals 10%. So in combat, you are able to access your inventory and drag inventory to your hotbars or use it from the inventory without a penalty. So, but you cannot access somebody else's inventory during combat. So if I needed to heal Scarlet, you know, and I look at her, she has nothing in her inventory that heals, so she would have just flat out died. So a note on death, then. Let's say out of all these here, we ended up, let's see, I think it's 100, 200, 300. Let's say this encounter was 100 for each one of them. So say it was 600, right? We had 6 mobs and each of them were worth 100. If both Scarlet and Roderick killed 5, right? And then Scarlet died, and then Roderick killed the 6th mob. Scarlet wouldn't get the same XP. She wouldn't get 600 XP. She would only get XP for the mobs she was alive to kill. So Roderick would get 600 and she would get 500. Now, this game has a limited number of XP available to it. And some quests you'll get more XP for solving in certain ways. Because there is such a limited number of XP, you don't ever want to die. And lose XP. So, you know, if you die and you can revive them, if you can get them back up before you make a kill on something else, then you're okay. But if you die and kill anything while they're dead, that person, that character, regardless, even your companion, won't get XP for that encounter or that part of the encounter. So it's very important that everybody is alive when things die, okay? So let's take a look. We have 950 XP on Scarlet, 950 XP on Roderick. Okay, let's go ahead and sort this. So if we hit our tooltip, we can see that some gold dropped on the ground. We have an old cloth cap on the ground, and we have a toxic grenade on the ground. And that's our loot for this encounter. Drag items such as potions, scrolls, grenades, or special arrows from your inventory onto a slot in your hotbar for easy access. You can also drag skills from your skill screen on your hotbar. Alright, so let's go into the inventory. We have our smoke grenade here still. So a toxic grenade creates a poison cloud with a 4-meter radius. So it's 15 range to throw and a 4-meter explosion. So we'll go ahead and throw that on our hotbar. You can see that we picked up a old cloth cap, sturdy yet lightweight helmet made of specially crafted cloth woven in a fine, even thread. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this on Roderick from here on out. So let's try to... Now, notice the description, right? It says, he charmed the Grail with the power to transform basic clothing and armors from simple cloth and steel to lavish gold, right? So if you hit combine, this is a cloth cap. So despite what it says, it doesn't do all of them for whatever reason. I don't know if this was just overlooked, but anyway. But fortunately, we have a helmet that dropped. So now I can use this helmet. And now I can drag this helmet down to here. So now when I want to loot something, I can go to the oglers for the +1 on Lucky Charm, and then when I'm done with it, I can switch the helmet to go back to normal view, and that makes things much better to play. Alright, so now post-combat, we're going to go ahead and start getting healed up. And you can see why regeneration is more powerful than the cure. The fact that in order for you to use the cure wounds, you have to be very close, and it's only used once per combat.
I feel better already.
Whereas regeneration, after a certain amount of turns, you will be able to regenerate again, and it is a dot heal.
On the mend.
Alright, so that's that. And yeah, so that's basic combat and how to go about doing things. Like I said, this encounter here could have been much different. The fact that my battering ram from Roderick was able to knock those last 2 opponents down, and he was able to do enough damage on his dual wield to kill the lieutenant, really turned the tide of the battle. That could have been very disastrous. I kind of wanted it to be disastrous though, because I wanted to show you how rezzing works and how just general death works when both characters die. But I'm sure there's going to be other opportunities for that to occur. But to see, I mean, we only had a 60% chance to knock those things down, so it was just a fortunate roll on our part. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and end this episode here. Next episode, we will look at this ancient stone gate and progress into the starter dungeon. Alrighty. Later, guys.